Good day, class. How are you? I hope that you are doing well. Now we are in the final, or let's say second to the final unit of our course. And that is for you to know the different instructional strategies for science. But before I discuss the different teaching strategies which are considered or suggested to be effective in teaching elementary science, let us first determine how it is to use these different methods and what does it mean to teach creatively in elementary science. You know, the strategies are there. But when it comes to which strategy will you use, nakadepende yon sa creativity and sa sensitivity ng isang guro. Okay, so why should you watch this video? I encourage you to finish and really take note of some of the most important general principles that you have to learn in teaching elementary students and in teaching. It's vital for you to know how you can teach creatively. And how will you teach creatively? You have to know first the general principles of style or methods or creativity. And here in this video, we're going also to see the importance of appropriate use of strategies. Now, as we know, as I've asked you last time, there are hindrances in learning. So, have you already identified some of the hindrances in learning? So, if you have already identified the hindrances, one of which is boredom. Do you agree that boredom or yung pagiging uninterested to learn, uninterested to study, or to be in the class is a huge factor why students do not learn, mapa face-to-face man yan or online. And another is you find your teacher boring. Okay, so for a student like you, it's easy to say, ang boring ng subject to, hindi ko naman to kailangan, and I also find my teacher boring. But as you progress or kapag kayo naman na yung naging teacher, you will also realize that it's not that easy to capture or to sustain the interest or um, actually the word is to entertain or to motivate your students to sustain that. Okay? So some of the posts na nakita ko social media, pag maganda daw yung teacher, ay talagang makakapture daw yung attendance at the same time yung interest ng estudyante. But as an elementary student, as a student, you know that it is not something that would sustain the class. The beauty, the damit, or the voice or whatever is not enough to sustain the class to be interested in the topic. So are there other ways for you to make your class interesting? Kung bigyan mo naman sila ng maraming activity. Kasi pag nagsasalita naman daw na nagsasalita yung teacher, boring naman. Pero pag puro activity, puro reklamo din yung mga estudyante because they are also exhausted with the huge loads of activities. So, paano mo ibabalance ngayon yung iyong class? How would you sustain your class? Here are just some of the reasons also why we find the teacher or the class boring. You can also add some. And perhaps you would also learn how you would deal with that in the future. Yung una is monotone. So as I mentioned earlier, sa isang guro, voice may not sustain the class. Okay? Pero syempre, may role yung voice. Kasi monotonous ang pagsasalita, yung parang hindi tumataas, bumababa yung pitch at saka walang diin, wala ring will really make the listeners bored. Okay? So monotone. Okay. Ano pa? No enthusiasm. When you see the teacher not energetic, tapos yung mukha niya poker face, dull, or parang napilitan lang si ma'am magturo. Okay, so kung i-apply niyo naman ito sa sarili ninyo, sa inyong demo teaching. I hope itong mga reasons for being boring will also is something na dapat nyo ring mapansin at iwasan when you do your demo or demonstration of your teaching. So, too predictable. Ako pag nanonood ako ng mga video demo submitted to me last sem, I find it too predictable. I could always see Manila paper. I see the student reading what's on the Manila paper. So those are something predictable to me. And I hope that it's not something that I would find with your final output. No animation. Ito very important sa elementary because they love movements. Singing, dancing, pati yung voice mo animated. Okay? So, yung action mo, pati yung facial expression mo, di ba nakikita nyo ba yung nasa video ng mga storytellers? I'm going to forward to you um, a video of an elementary teacher who is animated. So, check nyo po ang inyong group chat. Okay? No variety. Okay? So, pagpasok mo, the usual thing, hanggang sa natapos yung SEM, ganun lang. Same strategy, nothing new. Although, in some study, yung magsiset ka din ng routine sa class is not bad. Okay? But remember, when you deliver your instruction or your materials, there should be variety too. Okay? Lalo na sa elementary students. But I'm not saying that setting a routine like greeting and then doing your prayer and then yung motivational activity mo, dun ka pwede mag-vary ng motivational activity, how you do prayer, how you do greetings. Yan, dun mo lalagyan ng variety yung mga routines at activities that are necessary to be included in the class. Next, no participation. So yung teacher lang ang salita ng salita. Okay, ano pa? What else? No illustration. Ay nako, sa elementary, this is very important because they want to really see. Okay? They are visual learners. Kaya nga they are so 'di ba? They are so entertained kapag may napapanood sila mga movies or cartoons kasi nakikita nila visually yung mga movements, lalo na pag nagpe-play ng game kasi may interaction kang kasama. So again, another is no eye contact. So this is for any speaker. Kapag no eye contact, you are not connected to your audience. Sooner or later, you will get bored. Now let's take a look at these pictures. What do you see on your screen? You see different types of cake. Okay? So, ano tingin niyo dyan? Does it look delicious? Do you find it attractive? Ano? Okay, so papansin mo, iba't ibang klaseng cake, pero mukha silang masasarap with different design, different, I guess, ingredients. So, you see, in teaching, parang ganito ding mga cakes na ito. You are presenting to them something that they should be feed with. Kailangan ma-feed mo sila. Dapat ito yung maipasok sa kanilang isip. Pero depende yun sa, let's say, sa nagluluto, sa baker, or sa teacher, kung how would you present it to them para they would be interested to eat that. And kahit iba-iba siya ng style, iba-iba siya ng uri ng pagkain, this could actually be what? It is something that they need to, what do you call this? Ma-appreciate nila yan. Ma-appreciate nila kasi visually they're attracted to it. They want to eat that and it's something that they need to. Okay? So, ganun din po sa lesson making. Mahalagang ma-present natin creatively yung gusto nating ma-feed sila with. So now let's learn some ways on how we can teach creatively. And you will also discover as you learn this what your students want you to know. Okay? Kasi pag sinabi yung discover what your students want you to know, syempre wala namang teacher na magsasabi sa inyo na, wala namang student na magsasabi sa akin or sa teacher direct sa kanyang face that you are a boring teacher. Some of you will just post it or tell your classmate, and you are going to tell others except your teacher. So, ngayon pa lang, it's best for you to know how you could teach creatively para ma-avoid yung boredom sa sa inyong class. Okay. So, here's a quote. Sabi dito, don't just throw seed at the people, grind it into flour, bake it into bread, and slice it for them, and it wouldn't hurt to put a little honey on it. So, look at these pictures. Tingin nyo ba kung flour lang yan or would people eat that? No, I don't think so. But because as a teacher, you have grind it, you have this put your effort to design and to make it look so delicious. Yan. Ay talagang kakainin yan ng mga uh, bata or ng gusto mong i-feed nito. So, you see the difference between presenting your lesson creatively. You really have to exert an effort. So, let us learn some principles of creativity in this video. So, first, also remember, great teachers teach truth creatively. So, hindi lamang yung pagiging creative ang dapat mong pag-aksayahan ng panahon. But remember that what you are teaching them should be truth, and those truths should be wrapped up beautifully para naman they would appreciate the truth that you're creating them. You see, lahat tayo, we love stories. Siguro, mas prefer nga natin minsan makinig ng story ng katabi natin kaysa makinig kay teacher. You know what? Because we love to listen to stories because it drives our imagination and so on and so forth. But hindi lahat ng kwento ay totoo. So in teaching, hindi lahat ng what do you call this? The ideas and that you would present to your student, ikaw mismo should evaluate if what you're teaching them is the truth. And if it is the truth, then you have to encourage them to know that. And how would you do that? For you to be creative in your style. It is also the teacher's responsibility to cause students to learn. Hindi lamang ng school, hindi lamang ng, what do you call this, ng mga administrators or ng iba lang ng mga estudyante, but you should also, as a teacher, take the responsibility that you are the primary driver of learning sa iyong class. And your style drives learning. So let's learn some universal principles from the book ni Dr. Bruce Wilkinson entitled Teaching with Style or Applied Principles of Learning. The first one is, according to Dr. Bruce, okay, how can you teach with style? How can you teach creatively? You have to teach with style. And style is the process by which the teacher delivers the subject to the student. So, isa style, kasama na doon yung paggamit mo ng strategies. Okay, teaching strategies mo sa pag-deliver mo ng lesson, especially science. So, in the next video, I'm going to teach you the different strategies that you could incorporate, okay, as you develop your own style in teaching elementary science. And next style is the primary cause of student boredom or excitement. So, nakadepende pala sa style ng teacher kung yung estudyante mo ay mabobore or ma-excite. So, kailangan mo talagang pag-isipan at paghandaan yung pag-aano mo ng yung lesson. Kasi, ikaw nga yung magiging dahilan kung yung mga estudyante mo ay mabobore or ma-excite. Depende sa style na gagamitin mo. And if you have used it properly, okay, if you will really, what do you call this? Mag-i-effort ka. Yan. Alamin at kilalanin mga estudyante mo and also develop your style. Your style will be your tool in teaching. Okay? So, not necessarily, okay, kahit, naman, let's say, alam mo yon yung meron naman kaming class na buong class, nanood lang kami ng film. Okay? Pero kung hindi mo maipaprocess yun, okay, the learning would be, what we call this, sabog. The teacher is still needed. Hindi lamang yung materials, hindi lamang yung pinanood ka ng movie, tapos na yung klase. But your style would help you make use of different resources like videos, films, ano pa ba, different activities and materials para ma-drive yung mga estudyante na matutunan. At hindi lang basta matuto, kundi you will direct them. Ikaw yung parang magpa-facilitate. Ano yung dapat nilang matutunan? Okay? In watching this film, in doing this activity. Okay? You don't just kill their time. Okay? Or basta lang makapag-conduct ng class. Okay? Next style is the responsibility of the teacher and is within the teacher's control. Kaya nga, you are the primary cause kung mabobore or ma-excite ang iyong estudyante. So aminin na natin yan. We have the responsibility and it's within our control too kung anong style ang ating gagamitin. Although, I find it also interesting when some students ay may nagbigay ka ng instruction and they would suggest or ask you, ma'am, baka pwede natin gawin to. And that's a collaborative effort of the class. But at the same time, you're still the leader. You are the teacher. You lead the class. So ikaw ang may primary responsibility. Yan. And my control. Sa style mo ng pagdidisiplina, sa style mo ng pag-a-assess ng learning, at sa style mo ng pagdi-deliver ng lesson. Okay, next style is influenced by personality. So naalala nyo class, pinatake ko kayo ng personality test doon sa isang site na pinakita ko sa inyo. Though that may not be so accurate kasi depende siya sa sagot mo. However, that would give you an idea of the different personalities natin at personalities mo. And perhaps you can see something there na na-identify mo, ganito pala ang strength ko. And these are some of my weaknesses. So in teaching, you don't pretend to be someone else, but you take different roles. Okay? Hindi ka nagiging, napapansin nyo, like si ma'am, pag hindi naman nagtuturo, tahimik lang. Pero pag nagturo siya, she can be so animated, she can be so, yung nag-iiba yung role niya. Pero it's still the same. She's still the same person. Okay? But she selects a role inside the class. So, ganun din po, we have to discover our strengths and weaknesses so that we could use that and incorporate kung saan tayo, let's say, we are good oral communicators. Yung style mo, ano mo doon. Okay, yung style of teaching mo, since doon ka magaling, doon ka, that's your strength, then i-develop mo yung strength na yun. And kung saan ka naman mahina, then also find ways on how you can improve in that particular area. And hindi masama humingi ka ng support from other teachers and even from your students. Next style is planned according to the subject size, setting, and seniority. So kagaya naman in communication, depende sa occasion. Ang iyong mga words, ang iyong mga, what you call this, choices of clothing, pati yung setup mo, pati yung visual aids mo or materials mo, depende sa tinuturuan mo. So ako class, in my experience, I have taught preschool, elementary, junior, middle school, senior high school, college, and graduate school. I'm not saying I'm an expert in any of those, pero one thing I realized is nag-iiba-iba yung style ko and strategy kung preschool ang tinuturuan ko, kung elementary ang tinuruan ko, kung senior high, kung middle high, at kung anong lahi pa yung tinuruan ko, kung Korean, Chinese, or Filipino student. So, ganun din po. Your style, it doesn't mean that you have a style. Ganun ka na sa lahat ng klase mo. May experience nyo yung class. Kasi ako, pag pumasok ako, let's say, sa block 1, ganito yung how I present the lesson. Pero, kapag pumasok naman ako sa block 2, usually, nag-iiba ng konti. Same lesson, but the style kind of changes. Depende nga kasi sa profile ng estudyante. And depende din sa need nila. Okay. Okay, and then sa level of understanding nila about doon sa topic, there are many factors still to consider. So, ngayon pa lang, marirealize nyo na hindi ganoon ka ano ang pagtuturo. Na para ba sa lahat applicable siya. So, nag-iiba-iba siya. So, next, style is fluid and must be adjusted according to the response of your audience. Ako may napanood akong motivational speaker. Meron siyang favorite na one line or parang illustration kapag siya ay nag-i-speak. So, ibig sabihin, parang nag-speak siya sa ganitong bansa, sa ganitong occasion, sa isang video, parang madalas niya gamitin yun to capture the attention of the audience. Pero nakita ko na iba-iba yung response ng audience. So, for me, you should really adjust your style and even yung approach mo because hindi pare-pareho ang response ng audience. Kung let's say sa Black One, napatawa mo sila dun sa inano mo, present mo, sa Black 2, iba naman yung parang nakaka-capture ng kanilang interest or hindi they don't find what you have presented there na parang funny sa isang class, dito naman iba naman. So, your style should not just be kumbaga yun na yun. So, you can adjust it according to the response of your audience. So, kaya yung lesson plan ninyo, guide nyo lang yun. But it doesn't mean that it's applicable to all na situation and class. Okay, so style is a learned skill. Take note, it is a learned skill and can be improved through understanding and practice. Okay, so that's what we are doing right now. I'm telling you about the universal principles of style according to Dr. Bruce so that you can evaluate yourself. At saka ngayon pa lang, mapaghandaan nyo na, ano ba ako, anong personality ko, what style could I use to teach elementary science? So now, nalaman na natin that there's a principle of style. Now, yung style na yon, we must make use of the style, the methods appropriately. And if we do, ay makaklasify tayo as creative teachers. So ano nga ba ang ibig sabihin ng creative teaching? Creative teaching is employing methods that will cause a learner to desire to learn. Okay. May style ka nga, pero sabi nga natin kanina, a style can cause a learner to get bored or to get excited to learn. Pero kung creative teacher tayo, we are going to make use of these methods appropriately. Ang resulta ay para maging motivated and masustain ang desire nila to learn inside the class kahit online or face-to-face. Once the learner experiences small successes in learning, he will eventually learn to love learning. So, ganun nga po. Kasi nag-start sa desire and then nakikita ng estudyante na, wow, ganito pala. That this would be the effect if I learn this. Okay? Yung mga concepts sa science. So, what if nakita ko yung, di ba sa science, pinapakuha sila ng flower, pinapadraw sila ng flower, ng leaves, ng kanilang mga kamay, tinitration. So, pag na-appreciate nila why they have to learn those, okay, and then the writing of letters, mga ganan, so they would have the desire to learn more. Okay, so ikaw yun, role mo yun as a creative teacher. And also, creative teaching is the art of combining one's knowledge of the lesson and the learner in lesson planning. Okay, so may role na sa creative teaching yung preparation mo. Okay? And sabi nga, combination of your knowledge of the lesson and the learner. Kasi pag may interaction talaga class, ang estudyante at teacher, pareho kayo, pareho yung estudyante at teacher, you contribute to the rich discussion in your class. And talagang, I've experienced it with certain professors and now that I'm teaching with certain students na talagang parang kulang yung 2 oras sa aming discussion because both of us are nakapag-connect kami and we want to dig deeper into the subject. So, ganyan. parang na-touch mo sila, na parang na-drive mo sila to learn. Next, it is creative teaching is the appropriate use of varied methods that elicit participation in order, okay, not just hindi mo lang sila napatawa just because you want to, but yun nga, ang purpose is to meet their needs for learning. Ano ba yung dapat nilang matutunan? And that would bring them maximum impact. Something that they could use in their everyday life and meet their learning needs. So, ano po? That will help them to understand, accept, and apply what is learned. So, teaching creatively is so important. Bago nyo malaman yung mga different strategies, you have to think, how am I gonna use these different strategies? Pili lang ba ako ng isa, dalawa? Paano ko siya i-combine? When will I use it? How am I gonna use it? So, you have to think of creative teaching. Now, creative teaching, syempre ang opposite niya ay boring. So, ayaw nga natin na maging dahilan tayo para maging mabore ang ating mga estudyante. So, ano bang ibig sabihin ng boring? Okay? So, nabanggit na natin kanina yung some of the reasons why the students find the teacher or the class boring. So, i-refresh natin. At ito yung mga i-avoid natin. Okay? So, creative teaching is not beginning the lesson as it began yesterday. Pero, if you want to be creative, you have to begin the lesson in a different style with freshness and newness. Okay. At ano pa? Creative teaching, it's not an overnight preparation. Ito yung nakakalungkot. Pag nagle-lesson plan, pag may mga activities na so important, yung iba talagang sinaputi, nagmadali. So, we know that if we want to make our class so interesting and creative, it does not have to be minadali or yung basta-basta lang. Okay, so kailangan we have to really be prepared. So we have to really kumbaga mag-dedicate tayo ng enough time to imagine and to parang foresee ano bang gusto ko mangyari sa class ko pagpasok ko. It may not always happen, but at least you have an idea how your class would go. Okay? Creative teaching is not boring. It is not a result of other ideas. Ayan, take note. Madaming lesson plan templates. Marami din namang mga ideas that we could get from Facebook, from different textbooks. Pero, how could you recreate that para mag-match siya sa need ng estudyante mo? And how can you reapply those ideas na sa context ng class mo? Okay? So, mahirap yung gaya-gaya tayo. Like, gayahin ko let's say, my favorite teacher ka. Ginaya mo yung niya. You can try to imitate the style that you like, pero still, you have to make it your own. Okay? So, you have to reconsider. Ito ba applicable to sa klase ko, sa personality ko, or gusto ko lang talaga siya yan? So, ganun po ang creative teaching. Next, ideas proven only by trying anything different. So, creative teaching, so ideas proven only but trying anything different. Okay, so kailangan we really have to make sure that what we are presenting to our students are something that, something that is, sabi nga nila, true. Hindi yung parang kina-convince lang natin. Pero sa ibang aspeto ay, let's say, sa lakas ng boses natin or sa explanation natin, we have tried to make them believe the idea, but it's also not just making them believe, but testing it. Kaya sa science, mahalaga yung experiment. Sila mismo, na-find out nila that the idea is proven by what I do, but what mom said. Okay, so and negative attitudes, but having an adventurous mind and complexity of outlook. So creative teaching is not negative attitudes, definitely. Okay, but it's having an adventurous mind and complexity of outlook. Okay, so ang hirap kapag yun nga, marami pa tayong mga negative attitudes to overcome. Okay, what are the negative attitudes in teaching? Yun nga, yung wala kang preparation, yung basta lang, no enthusiasm, um, iba din yung motivation mo, okay? Ano pa? Um, you're the type who doesn't entertain or listen to your students. So, those are some of the negative attitudes that we have to overcome. Next is creative teaching. It is not grades failing, okay, but grades passing marked with excellence. So, as a creative teacher, our goal is for our students to pass and to pass with excellence. Hindi tayo yung natutuwa na marami ang bumagsak at incomplete sa ating mga class. Kasi nga, ang gusto natin is for them to desire na matuto pa and to learn. Okay, so now naman, as we proceed, what is creative teaching really? So ito rin yung acrostics ng creative teaching based kay sa book ni Lizette Knight and Sonia Silbor, A to Z Creative Teaching Methods. For them, ito daw po ang creative teaching na excerpt or kinuha din nila from Dr. Joyce Abugan. So sabi dito, creative teaching is C, cares about the welfare of each learner. Siyempre, kaya nga gusto mo pag-igihan, galingan ang pagtuturo because you want your students to learn. So, ang teacher na walang pakialam sa estudyante niya, wala siyang pakialam kung may natutunan sila or wala. Basta siya pumasok, nagsalita, and then nagpa-activity, tapos na. Pero if you are a creative teacher, you care about the welfare of your students. You want them to learn, even if it takes time, even if you also have to impose some discipline, and even if you have to give them assessment. So you care about the welfare of your learner. Next, resuscitates waning attention to prevent boredom. Ito yung struggle ng maraming teacher online or face-to-face. Yung madali silang ma-distract. Ang dali-daling ma-distract ng mga estudyante. Pwede ng katabi nila, pwede nung nasa bahay nila, pwedeng kung ano yung may nag-appear na message sa kanila messenger and then na-distract sila ng other videos. So how can you regain that attention? So nasa teacher po talaga yon. How you can keep your students motivated, ma-sustain yung kanilang desire to learn from beginning to end. At sabihin ko sa inyo class, hindi siya laging madaling gawin. But sabi nga, we have to improve and develop our style para matuto talaga yung ating mga estudyante. Okay, next, E, executes various methods and teaching aids. Yan. Kaya nga, ito muna tinuturo ko sa inyo before the specific strategies for teaching science para ma-execute nyo nga po yung mga various methods and teaching aids sa inyong mga estudyante to help them learn. Next is A, addresses felt needs of learner. Meron ka ng lesson plan, meron kang style, pero ang tanong, do you adjust? When you see that there's a specific need ng learner na to, ito dapat mo nila matutunan bago maintindihan nila yung bagong konsepto. So you have to address that felt needs of your learners, not just sa mental needs, emotional, psychological, and other emotional needs of your students. May role pa dyan yung teacher. Okay, kasi kung emotionally, sila, distracted psychologically or mentally, something is bothering them, wala din naman masyadong effective learning sa area yan. Okay? So T, creative teaching is T, thinks, and thinks some more exciting methods. So in this textbook, Teaching Strategies for Elementary Science for Physics, Earth and Space Science, may mga strategies na presented. But again, do not limit yourself to recreate, reapply these ideas to form your own style of teaching and for you to even create more exciting methods. Okay. I inspire learners in using multiple senses. Okay. So yun nga sa isang theory in learning na kapag involved yung senses ng mga estudyante, lalo na sa elementary, that inspires them to learn. Hindi lang yung pinapanood, something na method wherein they could make use of other senses, sense of touch, sense of smell, yan, yung audio, yung pakikinig, panonood, and others. In order lang talaga to inspire them to learn. So, multifaceted siya. Kailangan ng skill din how you can properly use a style na mai-involve yung kanilang multiple senses, lalo na sa face-to-face. Face-to-face man or online na class. V, nandito na tayo sa second to the last V, vibrates with a contagious personality. Yun nga po, once you know your personality, meron kang mga strengths na find outan doon sa test, may mga weaknesses din. So, regardless if you're an introvert, extrovert, ambivert, or ano man yung personality mo, you always have that something which could be which could help motivate your students yan, to learn. So, ang ini-encourage lang ng creative teaching is for you to make your students enjoy the class by giving that, yung sinasabi nga natin, good vibes. Okay? Or maging masaya sila learning with you. Okay? Mawala yung intimidation, yung ano pa po, yung gap between you and your students. But at the same time, ma-maintain din yung discipline and respect. Okay, next, E, encourages each learner to be creative too. So, creative teaching is, yun nga, hindi lamang yung teacher yung creative, but as you model that creativity, you're also encouraging your students to be creative in learning. So, ito na anuhan ko to, natutunan ko to dun sa isang, na yung pagtuturo about note-taking method. So, yung how you can easily memorize and remember your lessons, and then kung paano mo siya ipaparaphrase, isa-summarize, and so on. So, merong tinurong 5 methods. Pero even if there are 5 methods of note-taking, hindi ko na i-apply specifically yung isang method, but I have combined some note-taking methods. So, it means parang pareho din siya in teaching. So, you combine those methods in order for you to adjust and meet the needs of your students. At the same time, yung estudyante mo naman, dun sa tinuro mo, may apply niya naman yun na kumbaga, yung ideas you have presented, may paggagamitan din siya noon. Perhaps not all the ideas presented, but yung application noon, he or she could apply it in a specific subject or situation kahit iba ang focus. Let's say, ito for elementary science. Pero pwede nyo rin itong ma-apply sa ibang subject. So, ganun ang effect ng pagiging creative teacher mo sa mga estudyante. Yung mga naituro mo sa kanila would drive them to be creative, and that means they could also apply it sa kanilang specific situation and even in other subjects or other needs that they have. So I hope that this will inspire you to creatively teach and make use of the different methods which I will discuss next in our next video. But before that, I hope that you will be inspired to know this greatest teacher. This greatest teacher, he knows how to teach creatively. He's an extremely creative teacher. He's extraordinarily relational. Okay? Nagde-develop siya ng relationship with his students. He uses a variety of methods in his teaching. He used parables, storytelling, and questioning. Okay, the art of questioning. He communicated through spoken words as well as written words. And in his classroom, may variety. Sometimes his classroom is located or nangyayari sa seashore, sa middle of the roaring sea. He even taught at the mountain top, at the plain, and down the valley. And when it comes to his illustrations also vary. He may sometimes use a child, an old man, a poor person, or a rich ruler in his illustrations. He also used object lessons like rocks, coin, colt, a fig tree, a tree of life, and a mustard seed. He also taught in public as well as in private. He used allegories like feeding the birds and clothing the lilies of the field to teach that God can provide for man's needs. Ang schedule niya, sometimes day, sometimes night, and even at noontime. He also taught the crowd as well as the individuals, and he also taught the children as well as the older ones. So his student population was composed of both males and females. Sometimes, or he also used symbols as well as real life examples. And he often asked questions. Sometimes he answered a question with a question. And as a teacher, he was well sought. There was a time wherein a rich young ruler and even an old teacher of the law sought him out, and he answered them with spoken words, and sometimes he also answers with silence. And as a teacher, he made the mute speak, he made the lame walk, and the blind see. And his message was amazing. And the authorities even um, respects or are amazed with the message that he delivers. His teachings were outstanding, like you have to do good to those who do evil to you, to love your enemies, to pray for those who persecute you, and to be a second miler or to go an extra mile for a person that you are serving, and to be generous to those in need. Ang pinaka-amazing pa sa greatest teacher na ito ay he loved his learners, prayed for them, and wept for them. So do you know who this greatest teacher is? Walang iba but Jesus Christ. He is the perfect example of what it means to be a great teacher. And we could learn a lot from his life, his example, and his love. And you also know, class, you could also have that relationship with this person. You can imitate him, learn from him, the greatest teacher who ever lived. So as you go on with your preparation for your demo teaching, I hope that you will be inspired by these ideas and principles on how you can be creative in your teaching and by the life of our greatest teacher. So, yun muna class for now. You can also watch the video I sent you through your GC and learn from the elementary teacher kung paano siya naging creative in teaching elementary students online. So, bye for now, class. Thank you.